Welcome in, everyone, to the everydayfan.com podcast. Before we get started, I'd like you to subscribe to our channel, right? Subscribe to the everydayfan.com podcast. Subscribe to Shot of Jack as well, right? We work as a team, right? We work in conjunction together, right? Together, fantasy gaming advice. Go to the everydayfan.com for the best in sports content. Today, we've got Mr. Matthew Scott with us, and we've got El Capitan, Mr. Paul Casanova with us, talking the Julio Jones fantasy impact. How we doing, fellas?
We're good.
I'm great, man. Great.
All right. Good and great. You can get better. You can get fantastic.
You can always get better. You can always get better.
Phenomenal, right? You could pick an adjective, you can get there. Speaking of a man that's feeling better, right? Julio Jones wanted out of Atlanta. He made it very clear to his cousin Shannon Sharp, right? Whether that was purposely set up or not, he wanted out of there. And he didn't want to go to Dallas, so I don't want to hear the fans. He didn't want to go to Dallas either. He wanted a winner. Tennessee's a winner.
But I think there was a few teams thrown about because of cap issues and trading pieces, and the first round draft. A few teams didn't have first round drafts or weren't willing to give them up. So the initial interest was the Pats, Eagles for a little bit, Colts, 49ers, and Titans were the front runners.
What are your thoughts on that, Paul? What do you think about the Julio Jones trade?
I think Tennessee stole him, to be honest with you. And not only do I think they stole him, but what I think that does for that team is I mean, I know everybody still likes the Chiefs, and I understand why. And even being a Bronco fan, I mean, I get it. They're good. But, Matt, you've been making a few good points about their weaknesses lately. So when you combine all that, to me, I mean, Tennessee has to be up at the top, at least top three, right?
But they do, and I think that Titans are definitely up there now. But I think when people look at him, I've done the research on how he plays, but also how the Titans play. And I think a few people have got overexcited by this. And I think it's a good move. But the Titans are a run-first team. If you've got an object like Derrick Henry, you can run the ball and dominate games. Tannehill's not a gunslinger. He's efficient because Derrick Henry opens up the passing game. A.J. Brown is going to be your big play down the field, get separation, and he'll absolutely gas everybody. Julio Jones is going to make catches in traffic and extend plays. Then you've got Josh Reynolds that's very good working in traffic. He's going to be able to find space when Julio and A.J. Brown are being man-marked.
Matt, is when you have those two, and they are going to do that, but now most people have a defensive back that can take the best receiver. Well, yes. One of these guys is always going to be on the second best defensive back on a team. And sometimes that second best defensive back on a team, I mean, he ain't no good. I mean, he's not that good. He's not as good as he used to.
If I may interject,
a lot of zone. It just means that the opponents are going to play a lot of zone. You're going to have your strong safety or your free safety. He's going to be roaming, and you're going to be playing a lot of pyramid where you're going to have guys that are going to be playing a diagonal to them to cut them out. So there are going to be games where they're going to struggle, or they're going to only get 2 or 3 catches, but it opens the game up to Anthony Ferguson that's going to be good in the red zone because you're going to take the Jonnu Smith catches. And I think Josh Reynolds' value goes up. So fancy-wise, those two go up for me. A.J. Brown stays where he is, but Julio Jones is 32 years old. And I was saying to Jack...
I'm going to tell you something right now. If Julio Jones, if they run a zone against Julio Jones, first of all, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. We're not in college football. If they run a zone against Julio Jones, book him for 2,000 yards this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pitch and catch.
I know, but they're going to play man, and then you've got a guy free that's taking an angle away from him. They're going to have a tracker on him that's not going to be assigned to a man. A strong safety, free safety. He's going to play deep, but they might give. I'd rather give up 5 yards to Julio Jones than put 2 men on him, and then suddenly he finds separation. And he goes for 40 yards.
So you're going to give up 5 yards every play to him. He's unguardable.
Mm-hmm.
He's unguardable. Like
No.
Ryan Tannehill's season last year, Ryan Tannehill's no slouch. 3,819 yards for all you guys that are listening for fantasy football. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Now you're getting Julio Jones as your number 2, right? Like Matt Ryan last year, because everybody thinks that Matt Ryan's been just crushing it. Matt Ryan last year, 4,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Julio's getting an upgrade.
He had garbage time yards.
Julio's getting an upgrade.
He is getting an upgrade. But
if he's getting an upgrade, like Tannehill's thrown for over 4,000 yards. I don't care who's in the backfield. Put Eric Dickerson in the backfield. Tannehill's still throwing for 4,000 yards. He's still going to throw for 40 touchdowns because he's got Julio Jones. I mean, it's going to be that easy. And you're right to your point about Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh Reynolds is going to be sitting there waving, wide open.
Yeah.
You know, and not to mention that Derrick Henry has been working on pass catching drills. That's another, right, Paul? I mean, that's all I see on Twitter.
He's gonna have a better year than he's had. Watch, and that's an incredible thing to say because that man is so good. But I bet you he has his best year ever this year.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
I think Derrick Henry is going to be running back. They're going to keep giving him the ball. He's going to have at least 18 to 23 rush attempts a game. He's probably going to have 9% of his games. He's going to have 100 yards plus again. Give him 2 or 3 receptions a game. And first is going to take the red zone. Middle of the field is going to be Josh Reynolds. Big plays will continue to be A.J. Brown. And then, like I say, middle of the field, you've got Julio Jones. So, yes, that team is stacked.
I don't think it's obscene or outlandish to call Ryan Tannehill 4,500 yards, over 40 touchdowns, and Derrick Henry breaking the rushing record. I don't think that's crazy at all. Anybody?
Nope.
How many offensive plays can you play in a game?
How many fantasy players?
No, offensive plays can you get in a game?
The way the game's been going or the way it's trending, 84.
Yeah.
It's trending like it's just go, 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 go. It's all no huddles. It's all everything. So I think up until the weather gets bad, you know, when it starts getting windy in Cleveland and
if Derrick Henry can keep getting 100 yards, 120, 130 a game in 20 rushes,
sure.
How many? You know, is Tannehill? That means Tannehill's got to turn to a gunslinger. I
don't think he does. I don't think he does. How many long touchdowns did he throw to Arthur Juwan Brown last year? That's AJ's real name, everybody. Right? How many touchdowns he throw to Arthur Juwan? Right? And long bombs. These weren't short passes; they were bombs. So
they're the best duo for deep ball passes.
Right, but if I were to, let's get rid of Ryan Tannehill's name. Right, let's just say Patrick Mahomes in his rookie year had 33 touchdowns or sentence. First of all, I can do that with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's a gunslinger, right?
He is, yeah, because of a bad running game.
So basically, Tannehill had his rookie year last year. Let's say you were giving Justin Herbert Julio Jones. Do you think his numbers would go up bigger? I just think the name Ryan Tannehill's throwing people off. I actually think you're going to get him as a steal.
I've been high on him pre Julio Jones trade.
I think he finishes the season as a top 8 fantasy quarterback.
And that's I put him top 10 pre Julio Jones, but I agree with that. Yeah.
What do you think, Paul?
I wasn't high on him for a couple of years. I was believing the same thing. But over the last 2 years alone, he has shown to be a real quarterback. I mean, a real flat-out franchise quarterback. And if he keeps up those numbers, I mean, just if he did the same numbers again this year with the crew that he has, because of the mix that it will have and the different combinations that he'll have to throw to run, all the stuff that he'll have now, the same numbers he had, they'll have a better record.
Let's be hypothetical. If he chose the Colts, one of the teams that was in there, what numbers would you have given Carlos Wentz?
I think Carson Wentz. In fact, I'm going to be defending him in a couple of weeks. Carson Wentz is going to have a good year. I don't think. Look, Philly got it wrong. For all you Phillyites out there, you got it wrong again. You didn't like Donovan McNabb. You didn't like Andy Reid. Oh, they're the problems. Not really. You got it wrong again. You picked Jalen Hurts. You got that wrong. It was Carson Wentz and Frank Reich. Doug Peterson got lazy with his play calling. Right? Go at me. Look at my name. My name is at Jack Neary 27. At me on Twitter. I'm serious. I'll stand behind. Carson Wentz was. People are, oh well, he had a pretty good year. Stop that. He was the leading candidate for the NFL MVP. All he had to do was hand the ball off the rest of the year. Vegas had him booked, and a freak accident happened. He got hurt. Now, what happened? He came back. He was okay the year after. People sit there and they go, "Well, he never came back good." That's false. He threw 24 touchdowns after that.
The offensive line was awful.
The offensive line, the year after he threw for the 24 touchdowns, had your local FedEx driver working for him.
Yeah.
Okay, right? And that's what they dealt with. And, it got inside of his head, and he got a little gun shy, and he was trying to save the team. You know who should have been trying to save the team? Doug Peterson. He should have spent some extra time, drew up some creative plays, and did Carson Wentz a favor. Ultimately, he did. Carson Wentz now plays for the Colts, and he's going to be another fantasy football guy that you're going to be stealing, the 12th round? Dancing. You'll be dancing stealing him in the 12th round. Him and Tannehill. I don't have to take a quarterback ever.
Let me write this down.
Huh?
You said, let me write this down. Hold on.
Yeah, write that down. Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill, booked them for great seasons. I think, sometimes you just need to hang out with the right group of friends, right? And all of a sudden you feel better, you do the right things, you feel smarter, right? All of those things help you become a better person. You're reading the right books, you're on the right diet. Okay,
Frank Reich is that right road because he's a very good coach.
Listen, if anybody knows anything about comebacks and bringing people back to their epicenter, it's Frank Reich. Remember what he did in the playoffs as a starting quarterback or as a backup for Kelly? He led the greatest comeback ever, and he's about to lead another one, Indianapolis. I promise you. Oh, you don't like that? I don't. Hey, listen, I think.
I've just never been that big on Indy too. I think they make a lot of dumb moves, but. Maybe they got it right now. I haven't really gotten into Indy lately, so
I think
I think it's all down to where Michael Pittman finishes. Let's see where he is. I think Michael Pittman, Jalen Reagor, and Henry Ruggs are in that year now. They have to prove they can be the guy.
I'm with you, and for my money, I want to go with the creative play designer, and that's Indy. They're gonna find ways to get Pittman in sweeps. And they're going to find slants for him, and they're going to find unnatural picks. They're going to do all that because that guy spends time drawing up plays. I mean, literally, you sat there watching Philly games last year, and you went, man, I'll tell you what, if I know the play on my couch, there's a problem here.
Yeah, okay, no, I agree.
And that's a cross, and that's an up. I'm turning this remote off before I throw it through the TV because you could just see it. And Carson got upset, and he's from the Midwest. Okay, maybe he doesn't handle his emotions as well. I mean, he goes hunting for sports, okay? All right? He gets very angry, right? Or maybe he needs the quiet. I don't know what his personality is. Frank Reich does. Frank Reich knows the man. And I'm telling you what, if he's getting a quarter of the player that MVP player was, and he has to build around it and make him look a little bit more flashy and give him more design, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about Carson Wentz at all. In fact, my money in my mouth would be in the same area. I would draft Carson Wentz.
I would. I agree. I would be looking for him back end of the draft as well.
Yeah, I got you to agree with me. All right, good. We're heading the right direction, everyone.
Are we moving on to your favorite subject as the next one?
Well, yeah. What do you want to talk about? I think Tannehill's good. I think Matt Ryan's in trouble. I think he's in trouble.
Okay, on this basis now, I want to play devil's advocate.
Oh, of course.
All the people that have drafted Kyle Pitts already, do you believe that's still a stronger move now with no Julio Jones?
Yeah, because I believe that for all the I think you're in trouble, right? I still think he's a better quarterback now than Kyle Trask is. And Pitts made Trask's job easy. I mean,
but he's now not got. People are going to be looking for him.
He'll be more of a focal point, man.
That's what I mean. That's my point. You haven't got Julio Jones for people to work on the field for him to find that separation, or him to be the guy that
Pitts for a minute. Go ahead, Paul. Talk about Kyle Pitts and how good he really is.
See, that's the thing is we don't even know because
I agree. He's not taking snap in the NFL yet.
He didn't get to, but he didn't get to exploit himself to his full capabilities even at Florida. So all the greatness that we saw, he still has that extra boost. He has that extra level yet that we didn't get to see, and that's because a lot of times he was held back by Mullen and his game plans, the way that he likes to do things. And I mean, there was a couple of games where he flat out didn't even use Pitts, and that's just the way it works. So I'm saying when he gets to be the focal point and he's in a pro offense with a coordinator who can game plan starting right now to put something in for him, I mean, he's going to have a huge year.
Could you be getting a younger Julio?
I'm thinking more like Johnson from Detroit.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Some of the measurables match. Right. So look, we got a couple picks. Right. We got a couple picks for Julio, and we believe that we have Calvin Johnson in the building. Right. I've got baby Megatron. I'm all right. I listen. Kyle Pitts should go just as high as he's going. I like Kyle Pitts. Here's my only worry when I'm drafting, because I've done it a couple of times. I'm gonna tell you guys. I'll let the viewers in on a little secret. I run into this trouble. I'll draft Calvin Ridley in the 4th, right? Because I took my running back, and then I don't like my running backs in my 2nd round. I really just don't. And listen, we're gonna be doing some live drafts on here. We're gonna have some fun coming up. But what I do is I take my running back, then I move over and I go, okay, I'm going to take a top tier wide receiver, whether it's Diggs falls to me. Sometimes he does, Mike Evans. Yeah. I think he's a top tier guy, right? So if one of those guys fall to me, good. Excellent. 3rd round, I try to snag that running back for some value. 4th round, I'll take Calvin Ridley. And then all of a sudden, 5th round, I'm like, Kyle Pitts is there. And now I'm going to be stuck with 2 Atlanta wide receivers, and I don't know if I really want to do this. And then if I have a decision after that, the decision will be like, oh man, Chris Godwin's sitting there in like the 5th or 6th. Then you're like, man, I've got Tampa Bay and Atlanta.
I'll give you a dilemma then, because I've
another one
in my draft. 5th round, I've had the option of Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, LSU 2019. Phenomenal.
Yeah, we got to start.
I'm taking Jamar. I'm sorry, 2018. I'm taking Jamar Chase every time.
That's a tough. And that's a tough question. I guess it would matter, right? Like let's have this. Maybe in the 2nd round, or early 2nd round, you took Travis Kelce. Right? Maybe you were lucky enough to take running back, then Kelce. Now you feel much better, right? You're patting yourself on the back. You high five a couple of your friends, and now you don't have to deal with that, right? Maybe, we just got to talk through this way. Maybe somebody, Kyle Pitts injures his fingernail or something, right? And people are concerned about it. No, things like that happen, right? You hurt your chin, right? Your pinky toe's not feeling the right way, and all of a sudden they hold you out a couple weeks. We're going to need some breaks. It's not perfect. We're not done. Right. This is why it's the fantasy football off season. We're constantly marching on.
And that's why
every day.
I'm a massive Russell Gage fan. This for me is perfect for Russell. I supported him all year, and look how well he did for me.
You are. Go ahead.
Russell Gage is getting 1,000 yards this year.
Oh yeah, or what? What are you getting? A whole watermelon by yourself?
He's going to get 1,000 yards.
We're going to have to figure out some bets on here.
Him and Jacoby Myers are both getting 1,000 yards.
All right, and if they don't, you'll eat a whole watermelon on air. I don't care how long it takes.
That's fine. I'll eat a whole watermelon on air.
Watermelon.
You're only losing an arm when we win 12 games. So I've got the good bet on this.
What's up, Paul?
That's Jacoby Myers and
nice, write it down.
Jacoby Myers, Russell Gage, 1,000 yards.
Russell Gage, 1,000 yards. All right.
And I'll start making bets too. I'll start saying, you know what? My bets will be, because I'm going to be down in Florida soon. My bets will be like, I'll eat like a whole pizza to my head in the heat. Oh.
And what round are they going in, Matt?
I've got Russell Gage going in the 10th to the 12th.
Okay.
And Jacoby Myers is going from the 13th to 15th.
So these are the gems, right?
These are gems because, the way the offense work, it works for them. And then you've got Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is another person that's going to have a great day for the Titans, and he's another guy that you can get 14th, 15th round, even off the waiver wire.
I thought you were going to say something ludicrous like 7th, 8th round. I would have lost it. You would have heard yelling, screaming, fighting. Right? 7th round. Is that true?
Cam Newton, 4th round. Are we all agreeing on that?
4th round. Oh my God. Yeah, Mr. 8 touchdown himself. So I do believe, and I don't, here's the other thing about the Julio Jones impact. Okay, I don't believe that it impacts Arthur, Juwan, AJ Brown at all. I really don't.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
I don't. I think
he's
that good of a wide receiver. Like, let's date back. Let's think back to a couple. Everybody, just close your eyes with me. Think back to a couple years ago before AJ Brown was in the league. All right, just breathe in. All right, close your eyes and think about it. Right. He shared a wide receiver. Yeah, there you go. He shared a wide receiver room with another wide receiver that was very good before, with DK Metcalf.
Oh, yeah.
With DK Metcalf at college. This isn't his first time sharing a room with a massive guy who's a great athlete. He knows how to share, and he still was a high draft pick. See, if you just close your eyes and think back a couple years ago, he knows. He knows how to do it. He's not going to fight for anything. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you guys have an offense you love, right? If you have a couple guys that you love, take the quarterback. He's got all the tools, right? If you have a bad defense, right? Oh, they're the worst defense in the league. Well, you better find some wide receivers on that team because they's going to be throwing forever. They have to.
But okay, let's pull this. This is the one big question for me, and let's make it a Broncos one. Cortland Sutton comes back. Jerry Jeudy's there. Now, Jerry Jeudy was well liked by Drew Lock, but Cortland Sutton is a completely different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at two players that are both completely different, but both focal to the offense. How much impact does Cortland Sutton have on Jerry Jeudy next year?
I think he's going to make him a much better receiver. And here's why. They can play almost the opposites. Like you were talking the same thing about Tennessee with those two receivers. They can play the same way there because Sutton's more of that typical big, long running downfield, catching the ball. And Judy's more, he can cut to that inside. He makes those sharp cuts, those double moves. You know, he's more of that. So they're different types of receivers. And again, you're going to have that problem where you're going to have one of them who's going to be covered by somebody who's less than the receiver themselves. So Sutton coming back, and also he is the type of receiver who has good rapport with anybody who's throwing the football because he's that good. So when he came in, when he was there, those 5 games, they had a great rapport, you know. And it's just because he's that good. So he makes everybody better. He's one of those guys who makes everybody better around him.
But would you, in the situation of fantasy, where Cortland Sutton before the 2020 season was a guy everyone was looking at in the 4th round, do you still see him being the same guy that's going in the 4th round? Or do you see him going in the 5th or 6th, 7th round?
If everything that I've seen so far, it shows he's going to be every bit as good as he was. So I would still take him up there in the 4th, but I mean, because of the situation, I could see it going 5 or 6 for sure. But I think he's going to have the same kind of impact because all word has come out is he's just as good. The form is there. He's in great health, you know. So I expect him to have a huge year.
So he could be a steal in the 5th or 6th. Like people just forget about him.
That's what I mean. That's what a lot of people are doing. They are forgetting his name in conversations.
Exactly. And it's not hard because it's been a long time, you know, so you forget exactly how good he was. But go back and take a look at some of those film. Like that guy is an incredible receiver. When I meant typical big, long running down receiver, I meant the big good guys, you know, the power receivers that are out there. And he's that typical, you know.
And who would, in terms of players coming to the 2nd year, who would you rather have between Chase Claypool, CeeDee Lamb, or Jerry Jeudy?
Well, see, I'm a little biased, but I do love Lamb. I do.
I'm Chase Claypool. So
yeah, they're all three. You ain't gonna lose, but Lamb, I think they're gonna have a better impact too, because I think Dallas is gonna be a little better than we all think, and I think that well,
No, listen. Let me weigh in real quick. I listen. Let me break this tiebreaker. I actually think it's CeeDee Lamb as well, but I think it's CeeDee Lamb because I never have ever thought that Amari Cooper was a number one. I just don't. And I think Michael Gallup's a number two, or maybe even, a 1A. I really like Michael Gallup as a steal late.
Chase Claypool's a number one.
But look what Lamb did with the offense that he had last year.
And he was phenomenal. Yeah, just missed out on 1,000 yards.
Well, now he's going to get the real quarterback back.
Right.
They're going to have an offense that's better than it was last year. I mean, he could only go up.
Like, I would take Claypool over Ruggs because that's where I think he should be going. But Roethlisberger, I don't believe in him.
Ruggs and Rieger shouldn't be in the same conversation.
Who shouldn't?
As those three guys.
Ruggs and Rieger?
Ruggs and Rieger should not be in the same conversation as Lamb.
But I think Claypool's going to slide back to the 7th because there's going to be questions about Ben, as there should be. At this point, to be quite honest, because I think he'll at least sling it. And I like guys that at least throw it and make mistakes. And question marks for me, whether he can actually take those shots anymore. I would take Drew Lock over Ben Roethlisberger.
I think he's going to be awful. I think he's going to be awful this year. I'm sorry, but I do. If he has a good year, I'll be severely surprised. The way he looked at the end of last year was almost an embarrassment. It was like, come on, guy, it's time.
But, yeah, it was bad.
The Broncos situation though is, and I know I want Drew Lock to be good. Last year I drafted him on the basis that I thought he's a better. Daniel Jones for me isn't the guy at New York. Drew Lock has a fighting chance to be the guy at the Broncos, but this year he's got to step it up. Mm-hmm. But if it comes to it, Jerry Jeudy with an accurate quarterback, Cortland Sutton with an accurate quarterback can put up good numbers. But at what point do you call it and go, we want to trust Drew Lock, but at what point is the end of the road?
Right. And I don't know if it's going to be that long because that accuracy comes into play big time with Bridgewater because he has that accuracy.
Yeah.
And so far he's been displaying that. And the one thing that Locke hasn't, like they had their 11 and 11s, I think today or yesterday. Yeah. And Bridgewater was killing it, right? He can hit those things. Locke, on the other hand, had like 2 straight interceptions, or may not have been 2 straight ones, but he had 2 in that whole series. So the guy covering it, as he put it, looked like he was pressing. So he may be feeling the whole, I got to be number one. But they do have that accurate quarterback there. So I don't think it'll be long if
he does the way it is. Yeah.
He should. I don't think it would be long before they made that.
So here's what's interesting, right? And this is my takeaway, right? Of that whole, that's great information, by the way. That lets us know kind of where the Denver quarterback situation is trending, because Bridgewater didn't put up bad numbers last year. I mean, there were a couple 272s,
2,000-yard receivers,
right? And here's the thing: Josh Allen's not pressing because Mitch Trubisky's there.
No,
he's not.
Mitch Trubisky knows he's not getting the job.
Well, because he's that much better, right? Yeah. And that's what's interesting, right? If you're that good, you don't press. You just go, hey, welcome to the team. You shake everybody's hand, and you know that everybody gets stronger. The bond becomes thicker, right? And you go, hey, look, if I don't work as hard or whatever, but it's my team. And it seems like somebody that's pressing doesn't really believe it is theirs. And maybe it never was. Maybe they had a couple good games, and I'm telling you, the keys will be, Paul, I mean, how quickly do you think these keys are going to be handed over to Bridgewater?
Well, remember, the GM, his whole mission when he started this whole thing was to get competition. He wanted Locke to feel this way.
Yeah.
He wanted this pressure to be put on him to see what he could do, and he's getting what he wanted. And in the end, it may feed him exactly what they are looking for, which is, can he do it? Because if you put that much pressure on a guy this early and he doesn't perform, maybe you saved yourself the season, right?
I agree. Yeah. And you know what?
But he's getting. I'm saying they're getting what they wanted because he talked about it. That was one of his biggest missions. He wanted was to have competition for Locke. Well, now you got it. And to me, I've never seen that happen in a team, and it turned out good because when you get half the team liking one guy, half the team liking another guy, then you have this controversy. You know, to me, I've never understood that. I like to clear one, to clear two. You go in like that, everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody's happy, sort of, whatever. But you know, happy as you can be. When it's like this, I don't know who's number one. Sometimes that doesn't come out so well. But I guess
I think they'll know pretty quickly who's number one.
Okay, I know the conversations we've had. Who has the better season between Tua, Jalen Hurts, Drew Lock, and Daniel Jones? Rank them in terms of your top four, because Daniel Jones should have the best season with the weapons he's got.
Surprisingly, I might say Tua.
Okay, so I'm going to rank him this way because I think that Jones is athletic enough, fantasy football-wise. He's had rushing yards. I know he's had stumbles at the end of the gate as well.
He's had the most fumbles of any quarterback in the past 3 seasons.
I understand, but he now has a number one wide receiver.
Oh, well, that'll help.
Kenny Golladay is a number one. And I know that you could say Slayton, like Slayton was, that's definitely going to help. Slayton is not a number one.
No.
Sorry, just not. Evan Ingram.
He's not, but he works well not being number one. Sterling Shepard works well not being a number one.
Right, but you do need that number one. And now he has it. So for me, it's Jones. Jones, number one.
Okay.
Number two, I think Tua does take a leap. Because, I mean, let's be quite honest about Jalen Hurts. Okay, Jalen Hurts started a national championship game and played so poorly. Tua came off the bench and won it. I mean, I will never get that vision out of my head. Like, you didn't even finish the game you started, and you led the team all year. Like,
yeah,
really think about that, right? So for me, it would be Hurts before Locke, and only because from what Paul's information he just gave us, I don't know if Locke's going to win the starting job. So I got Locke would have to go last. Without that information, I'd probably bump him up ahead of Hurts because, I mean, Hurts for fantasy football purposes. But, I mean, I'm telling you what, if he doesn't produce.
Hurts has got a job for the year, regardless of how camp goes.
If he doesn't have, if Hurts is losing games, he's got a job as long as the running back can't throw the ball. Because I'm going to tell you, they'll have Kerryon Johnson start throwing that thing if those people are picketing outside that thing because Philly's crazy. I mean, they're not crazy. I'm sorry. I take that back, Philly. Your fans are passionate, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I like passionate fans. Now, you know, sometimes you root for the wrong guy, but you're passionate nonetheless. You're not crazy. But I'm telling you,
okay.
They're passionate. I don't know about what, but they're passionate.
They'll be coming for you with cheesesteaks in their hands and pitchforks if Jalen Hurts is not producing for Philadelphia.
Where would you put Jordan Love in that four?
I would put him playing at BYU.
Because say he starts. He's got some good players. Don't get me wrong; they're not great wide receivers outside Devontae Adams, but
too unknown for me.
Because I still think Jordan Love could surprise people. I'm not a big fan of him. Don't get me wrong; I'm not going to write. He's going to be phenomenal, but he's got to be better than Hurts.
That's a good argument. How dare you drag me into this argument between how dare he does this all the time to me. For all those that are watching, Matthew always digs one out on me, and because I was so sure that Jordan Love, we just sit there and we just he's never played snap. But if you're asking me to choose between Love and Hurts,
yeah,
I'll tell you what, sir, Love Hurts. I'll take Love. I'll take Love because I've seen him throw the ball accurately. I've seen glimpses. Like Jalen Hurts, I mean, you're going to have to glue me to my chair, strap me down like a crazy person to get me to sit there and watch. I'm telling you, and this is why I tell everybody, I walked past the TV screen. I promise you this. I walked past TV screen. I think Philly was playing New York week 1. Wentz was a rookie. Walked past TV screen a couple times. I was like, all right, I gotta sit down. I'll see what this Wentz guy is about. Let's see. Because I didn't like Goff. Right? I'm not a scout, but I didn't like him. I sat down and I was like, man, I'll give you 5 minutes. He made a throw and I went, dude, there is so much zip on that ball. I get it. I've never seen it with Hurts. I've never seen like Nick Saban believes in everybody except Jalen Hurts. No, he took him out of a championship game. At one point, he was like, look, you're the problem. I'm so sorry, but I think we can win this game with you over there. And Nick Saban never pulls a quarterback mid-game. It doesn't look good for him. It doesn't show leadership skills. But in that moment, snap, he took him. And I'll tell you what, the one thing Jordan Love does is 100% believe in his arm, where I don't think Hurts does.
But then his deep ball stats as well. He's got 20 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions off deep balls.
Which one are we talking about now? Let's be clear.
Jordan Love.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So he is hit or miss, but when he does hit on it, it leads to either a big. You're looking at plays of 35 plus, or you're looking at a touchdown. So all he needs is MVS to connect with him, or Lazard to get down the field, and he's got a touchdown.
When Jordan Love came out, let's remember here. When Jordan Love came out, they were comparing his arm to a little less than Patrick Mahomes. And I know that everybody's being compared to Patrick Mahomes now. Patrick, oh, this guy's Pat, that guy's Patrick, this guy, right? I know we're doing that. I totally get it. But you tell me the last time Jalen Hurts was ever compared to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're not even comparing him to Derek Carr. I'm not trying, and that's not, I love the Carr family, you know. I'm not gonna,
I like Derek. I know I like Derek Carr, and I know like the Broncos. If you had Derek Carr with a good offensive line, Derek Carr would be good.
Mm-hmm.
He would win games.
I think it's the coach for him, but
yes, John Gruden just doesn't. I don't think John Gruden sees him as the franchise guy, but he's never had a big good enough offer for him.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just going to say it outright. Sorry, Raiders fans. I don't think Gruden's a good coach right now.
No,
I think the game passed him by, and he stole that money from the Raiders, and and now they can't do nothing because he's got them hostage, and that's what I think about Gruden.
I'll disagree.
But also, Matt made a good point one day. He only won his championship with somebody else's players. So.
Tony Dungy's team.
Mm-hmm.
I'll disagree. I think Gruden's a good coach. Do I think he's a good pick of players? I don't know.
He worked on TV, so he should know players.
Well, I mean, that's obvious. I'm a good judge of players. I work on TV. So we all work on TV, right?
He's worked and analyzed players. So he should have the inside track other coaches don't have.
I guess. I wouldn't listen. I like my scouts a certain way, and I don't believe that a scout is also a TV personality. I think John Gruden is a tremendous leader of guys. He gets them to believe and buy in. Do I believe he's a good scout? No. I like my scout to be into math and all these other different facets. I want to see burst speed. I want to see he's into the numbers, and I'm into coaching the numbers he brings into me. So you're for me, you're either one or the other. You're not both. And I think John Gruden's a great coach. Do I think he's a great grocery shopper? Absolutely not. Like you said, he won with other guys' players, other guys' groceries. So sure, could he feed the team excellently? Yes. But I don't believe that John Gruden is, you know, I just don't think he's the great picker of players.
He's never given Derek Carr a wide receiver one. The whole Antonio Brown situation was never going to work.
Why?
Because Antonio Brown's character.
Yeah, but he was a number one.
At the time.
But wasn't that a perfect fit for the Raiders?
No, I just think his headspace wasn't right.
Well,
he brought a guy in whose headspace wasn't right, who I don't think wants to play football, and now he's right because he took time out. But the Raiders just got him at the wrong time.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that. But he did try to get him a number one. Antonio Brown is a number one. I mean, he was a fantasy stalwart for years.
He was.
No, I mean, number one, absolutely. I mean, we started off talking about Julio Jones' fantasy impact. There was a time and a place where we would consider Julio Jones behind a couple other receivers, behind a DeAndre Hopkins, and certainly
Hopkins is still the second best is still the first or second best receiver in the league.
But I'm saying that Julio Jones at one time was a top 3, and the number
he's still
one.
He's still not as good as DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. I'm not saying that now. But what I'm saying is that there was a time where it went Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and or Julio Jones. Like you could take them, whichever guy you liked better.
Yeah.
It was DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones. But it was never a debate whether it was Antonio Brown or not. It was Antonio Brown. And that dude's giving you 2 touchdowns, 99 yards if Ben throws it near him.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just the way it was. So I think Gruden tried to get him at number 1. It just didn't, like you said, just didn't work out. Sometimes, she's a pretty lady and all of a sudden, you date her for a couple weeks and you're walking around, you're like, she ripped all my curtains down. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. It was just the wrong time.
Right. It's not you. It's me.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next topic?
I think that wraps it up. We've gone 40 minutes, and what we'll do is we will attack another division next time, and if we have more news, we will also break that because that's what we do at the everydayfan.com. Am I right?
We keep you updated, all the news, great articles, great podcasts, keep you in line with everything from wrestling, NFL, baseball, college football, college basketball. So everything is covered.
Yes, sir. Everything. 100%. TheEverydayFan.com. Come and check us out.
Most importantly, we're honest about our sports.
We are.
Oh, yeah. Maybe to our fault sometimes, but they never changing that.